our backs. So starting this practice off really nice and easy, go ahead and lower yourself to the floor. Take your feet about hip distance apart with your knees up. This way, with the knees up like this, the low back can really just relax down. It's nice and restorative. Take the arms out, but maybe lift your chest and just tuck your shoulder blades underneath you. Close your eyes if you'd like. If it feels challenging in any way to keep those knees up, like if they just kind of want to fall apart or flap open, just walk your feet a little wider and drop them towards each other so that you can just sort of balance them against each other. Let the nose point towards the ceiling, close your eyes, and let's start here. So sometimes we will start a practice sitting, but we can also start in another comfortable, easy position. Give yourself a moment to transition. Tune into yourself. Notice what's going on for you. Notice if your body's feeling tense or really relaxed. You might notice if there's any, emotions you've been carrying around with you. Anything that you just feel and need to acknowledge. If there's any thoughts that are running through your mind, anything that feels like a distraction, just see if you can allow yourself to move past that for the next hour or so as we practice. Those thoughts aren't probably going to actually go away, but we just want them not to be on the forefront of our awareness. And then transition your awareness to your breath. So now we can come and focus on that specifically. Notice your chest rise as you inhale, or your belly, or just wherever you feel it. And as you exhale, maybe just feel yourself sinking deeper into your mat, into the ground, the floor, the earth, whatever you've got underneath you. See if you can let go each moment, little by little. Now, it would be unusual if your breath were at this stage perfectly rhythmic or symmetrical or somehow even and steady. That's just not the way we breathe in real life. Oftentimes we just take larger breaths, sometimes smaller breaths. There'll be gaps between our breaths. We don't notice. Here we maybe started to notice. But now we're going to transition, so we're going to start to control the breath a little bit more, and pretty much throughout the practice. So we're going to narrow the back of the throat a little. This creates a little whispery sound. This is for our Ujjayi breathing practice. And then even out the inhales with the exhales. So nice and steady and smooth. So there's a pace and a rhythm to it. We're going to start to move to the breath in just a moment. So the breath is like the music of our practice. It can keep us stabilized and grounded. And then once you've got that breath smooth and steady, let's make sure your feet are right under your knees, so make an adjustment if you need to. And on an inhale, just start to roll your hips off the ground, rolling up through the spine, all the way until you get to your shoulder blades. And then exhale, roll your spine back to the floor. Let's add in the arms, so as you start to lift your hips and roll through the spine, the arms reach up towards the ceiling and overhead. And then exhale, everything's going to arc down together. Inhale, bring it up. Exhale, roll it down. So as opposed to just feeling like we're coming up in one, like just a fast, sharp, full movement, it really is much more of a rolling through the body. So it's a smooth transition. And we want to try to articulate the spine here so that we can really get it warmed up. We have a bunch of vertebrae in our spine, and we want to have them all moving separately. Each one is a separate joint, really. Come on up one more time. And then this time as you exhale, let yourself come back to the floor and then bring your knees in towards your chest. Keep them bent, grab your shins, and then pull your head and shoulders up, curling into a little ball here. Feel your low back really pushing into the ground. With the back rounded, it's really easy to get that down in this position. But now we're gonna go ahead and flex the feet, push them towards the ceiling, take the head and shoulders back to the floor like a big L shape, but keep the low back down as you do that. And then let's exhale, curl back in, really feel the back against the floor. And then inhale, try to keep the sensation of the back against the floor as you extend in your L shape. Exhale, curling in. Inhale, legs to the ceiling, arms overhead across the floor. Exhale, curl in. So if we actually are continuing to push our low back down when we extend, we're starting to work our core a little bit. So our transverse abdominal muscles are the ones that basically pull the belly back towards the spine. And those are the ones we should be hopefully using just a little bit here. Curling in, one more time. Reach the arms up and legs to the ceiling. And then curl back in, but this time keep your shoulders on the floor and head down. And let's take the arms either to like a T or goalpost, and let's take the knees to the right, turn the head back to the left for a nice twist. Breathe. Your head is turning away from your legs. Really, the weight of the head actually helps the shoulder drop down so we can make the twist more complete. And then switching sides, so bring the knees back to the center and then take them over to the left and turn your head to the right. And make sure you're still breathing. So we're not moving back and forth in this particular stretch, but we want to still keep the rhythm of the breath going. And then come on back to center. And we're gonna rock now like a rocking chair, the bottom of a rocking chair, shoulders to hips. Or like a ball, you can think of yourself rolling like a ball. We wanna not get our feet all the way to the floor here as we roll up, but we wanna have a little bit of control here. The last time, we will get the feet to the floor, and then just let yourself come to a squat here at the front of the mat. And if you can, turn your toes out a little bit and just let yourself drop down, maybe elbows inside your knees, press your palms, heart forward. If you can't get your heels down, that's okay. The toes can just be on the floor and you could be balanced a little bit there. And breathe. And then let's go ahead and come to a standing forward fold. So straighten up the legs, but keep your knees a little soft. So we think of forward folds as always being like hamstring stretches, but we don't want to worry about the hamstrings just yet. So let your knees really bend, let the upper body hang. If your hands happen to hit the floor, then you can grab your elbows so that they don't. And then just a little swaying from side to side. Allow the head and neck to release. If you ever want to sigh in your yoga practice, that's fine. On an exhale, if it works in. Let's release the elbows. Keep the feet about hip distance apart. We're just going to roll up nice and slow. So stacking the spine one vertebra at a time. Take your shoulders back and down. Coming into place here. And then inhale, reach the arms out and up. On an exhale, lead with the heart to fold again over those legs. Bend the knees at the bottom. Inhale. Roll on up, and we're just flowing with the breath here. Reach the arms at the top. Exhale, long forward fold over the legs. Again, this should feel pretty good. You can especially bend the knees as you roll up, but they never have to get completely straight, even as you fold. Exhale, come on down. And then bend the knees, roll on up, inhale. And one more time, exhale, take yourself to a fold. And if you're not at the top of your mat, walk yourself to the front of the mat, like one short side of your mat, so then you can step your right foot back and take it all the way to the back of the mat. And let's take the right knee down to the floor and extend those toes behind. Come on up and sink the hips forward. So this is a low lunge here. You might find that your back hip is kind of over your knee, but as much as possible, move it forward toward the front heel. And then while we're here, I'm just going to turn a little to the side. We're going to take the left arm up and grab the elbow and take it to a little side stretch. Or actually, let's do it the other way. It's going to make more sense the other way. Sorry. So grab the right elbow and take yourself over to the left. So we're going towards the knee that's forward. I think it's just a little easier to balance this way. And then release that. Take your hands back to the floor in front of you. And then we're going to step the left knee to meet the right. So your knees are back, and let's slowly lower the chest down between the hands. Let's take a Sphinx pose. So elbows under shoulders. Come on up with the heart. So this is a little different. Like if we were just, laying on our floor, like watching TV or something, we might kind of let ourselves slump down. But we want to actually actively push down with the arms to lift up out of this pose. And that's just going to give us a little bit more of a stretch. Maybe also traction, like almost like you're trying to pull your elbows to your hips. And then if you want to come up a little higher, straighten the arms, keep space between the shoulders and ears, soft glutes. And then let's lower back to the floor. So roll all the way down. Let's take the hands behind the back, interlace fingers. Pull your shoulders up onto your back. Slide the shoulder blades down your back, and the knuckles might reach towards your heels. Then, as you lift your chest off the ground, maybe lift the tops of the feet off the ground. Also, you can lift your hands off of your tail. And breathe. Now from here, let go of the clasp of your hands. Bend your elbows, bring them next to your chest. Let's press up into cobra. And if you'd rather not press up just yet, you can stay in a baby cobra where there's no weight on the hands. If you're up, there's still space between the ears and shoulders. That same idea of traction, but now we're trying to pull like the palms of our hands towards our hip bones to move our chest forward. Glutes are soft, thighs are completely on the floor. Tuck your toes, lift your knees and hips, and let's come to our first downward facing dog here. So we're starting off really slow, just kind of checking in with the body bit by bit. So when you get to down dog, take one knee and bend it a lot. The other leg can straighten, but maybe not completely, but the heel is going towards the floor, so a little bit of warming up. Switch to the other leg. Just pedal through the feet here a little bit, or any way that feels good for you to warm up in down dog. So that might be a little different for everyone. If you like to move around the shoulders or pivot on the balls of the feet and drop the heels, you can try that here. And then let's look to the front of the mat and walk the feet slowly forward. Come back to your forward fold, so all the way at the top of the mat here. And this time we're going to step the left foot back. So we'll take a low lunge on the other side, letting the left knee lower down carefully. Extend the toes behind you. Come on up and then sink the hips forward. I'm going to turn to the side again a little bit. And then this time we will go ahead and take that left arm up and pull over to the right. So we're pulling in the direction of the knee that is forward. Lunge into it and breathe. Should feel a stretch, right hip or glute, front of back thigh, and then obviously we're also getting kind of the tricep over here. Let's go ahead and come back down. Now we can step that right knee back to meet the left, and same as before, slowly lowering the chest down between the hands, and then peel up into a cobra pose. And let's go ahead and just come to child's pose. So keep the knees on the floor, move your hips back to the heels, lengthen the arms, forehead down. Breathe. So child's pose can always be used in place of downward facing dog. It is like a legitimate yoga pose in and of itself. So if you ever need to come here to take a break in the middle of a practice, know that you are still practicing. You're just choosing to take a little bit more of a restorative pose, and that's okay. If that's the kind of practice you're looking for, you gotta go with what you need. It's your practice after all. Forehead down. And then from here, if we want to transition to down dog, all the length we have in the spine here, ideally we want to bring it with us into that slightly more challenging pose. So see if you can lift your hips up just enough so that you can tuck your toes, but then again, create that length again of child's pose. Spread your fingers, engage through the hands, but let your arms lift up. Keep your neck relaxed, and then see if you can just pick your knees up about a couple inches off the floor. Once the knees are up, there's still all that length from hands to hips. Don't lose it as you start to straighten the legs, coming back to downward facing dog. And breathe here. Let's go ahead and walk the feet together. So usually our feet are hip distance apart in down dog, but let's bring the big toes to touch. Lift your heels a lot, move your chest back. Take the right leg up, keep the leg straight, but open the hip like you're trying to touch the ceiling with the toes. Really reach it, reach it, reach it. And then look forward between your hands and see if you can step your foot all the way to the front of the mat so that the knee ends up over the ankle. Reach through the back leg. We're going to come up for a high lunge. So the back knee is no longer down. If you need to bring it down to make the pose a little more manageable, that's okay. Let's take the arms up as we lunge into the front knee. Steady your gaze forward at something that's not moving so that you can help to find your balance here. Reach through the back heel. Now let's take the left hand down inside the right foot. Take the right arm up. Nice, easy twist. Shoulders stack. So twists should feel pretty nice for the spine here. If you want to go a little deeper, if you feel like you can get more stretch across the shoulders, let your top arm lean back more. Open your chest to the ceiling. Make sure you're keeping your right knee over your ankle, so don't let the knee fall open. And then turn back to the floor. So we're going to go ahead and step to plank now. So keep your back leg as straight and long as you can. Plant both palms. Step the right foot to meet the back. Reach through the head. Reach through the heels. Strong through the center of the body. Stabilize. Keep breathing. Maybe think about tractioning the hands a little towards each other so you're activating the arms here. Now to lower, you can drop the knees first, or maybe going through chaturanga, try to keep your elbows over your wrists as you bend them, and then the shoulders move forward as you lower your chest down. Inhale, take a good cobra. Come on up. You could take up dog here too if you prefer. Exhale, tuck your toes, lift your knees and hips, coming to downward facing dog. Take another moment if you need to adjust the feet. Fingers spread wide, hips high, and then walk those feet together again so that the big toes touch. Lift your heels, move the chest back even further. Take the left leg into the air. Feel free to let your left hip stack above the right one as you reach the left toes for the ceiling, but try to keep your shoulders level. So this is kind of an open hip down dog split as opposed to a square hip. Look forward between the hands and step your left foot all the way up there. And if it gets caught in the middle of your mat, then you'll just have to kind of use your hand to help yourself out so that we've really got that left foot all the way to the front of the mat so the knee can be over the ankle. Come on up for your high lunge. Reach the arms up. Although there's energy through the fingers and the arms are pretty straight, the shoulders should be pretty soft, so we're not lifting or hunching with the shoulders. We're really trying to keep it easy where we can. And then we'll take the twist on the other side. So the right hand's going to come down to the floor inside the left foot, and the left arm comes on up and opens. Shoulders stack. Left knee stacks over left ankle. But then if you want to take that top shoulder open further, if it's available to you, let your arm lean behind you as you look up. And then turn back to the front of the mat and let's step forward this time. So step your right foot up to meet the left. This time bring your big toes to touch. Heels slightly apart. Take the fingers to the shins. Take a good half lift. Reaching the head away from the tail. Flat back, try to level it out. Exhale, fold down over the legs, and then let's reverse swan dive. Come all the way up to standing, and exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Okay, we're gonna take a few sun A's just to kind of get the body moving. So we're just gonna string together some of these poses we've been doing. If you've been practicing with me, I'm sure you're familiar with sun A's, so I won't spend too much time describing them. Bring the palms together, tune into your breath. Close the eyes if you want to prep yourself. And then when you're ready, open the eyes. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, swan dive forward over your legs to Uttanasana. Inhale, take your fingers to your shins. Take a half lift for Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, step to plank and lowering chaturanga, or you can come all the way to the floor. Inhale, up dog, or you can stick with cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog, and breathe here. Fingers spread wide, hips high. If you need to modify in down dog, again, child's pose, or you could even take like a little puppy dog pose, knees to the floor, but you'll still keep your hips up. Try to lengthen through the arms as you reach them back so they're not coming to your heels, and it's really active through the arms. From down dog, however, inhale, look to the front of the mat. Exhale, step or hop the feet forward between the hands. If you want, you can hop lightly. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold down deep. Reverse your swan dive, come up, and exhale, palms together in front of the heart. We're going to keep flowing. I'm just going to move to the other side of my mat. Use your mat in the direction that makes most sense to you. Exhale, Uttanasana. Inhale, Ardha. Exhale, Chaturanga. And if you'd like to jump back to Chaturanga, you can give it a go. Make sure you're jumping lightly. Exhale, down dog. Take a couple breaths in down dog. Now you can, the sort of classic Ashtanga, you would take about 5 breaths in down dog. I sometimes do them with maybe just as little as 1 breath. So however many breaths you like in down dog, it's fine. So take it easy if you'd rather, hold down dog longer. But if you want to keep moving, make your down dog short and just keep flowing. Inhale, look to the front of the mat when you're ready. Exhale, bend the knees to step or lightly hop up. Inhale, take a half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Reverse swan dive, press the feet as you rise. And exhale, palms together in front of the heart. And we're going to just do a couple more here. Follow the pace of your breath. I will stop cueing so that you can really focus on your own practice and not worry if you're going faster or slower than me. So keep flowing through your sequence. When you get to your next down dog, go ahead and just stay, and we'll go ahead and add on from there. So stay in your dog, stay. And if you're in down dog, now go ahead and just hold. If you need child's pose, you can take that. Give yourself a couple more breaths. If you're still moving in the direction, just keep flowing with your breath. Hands root down and hips lift up as you inhale. As you exhale, deepen by leaning your chest back towards your thighs. Let's go ahead from down dog, take the right leg into the air, open the hip and bend to the top knee. So point the knee to the sky, let the heel drop to the ceiling. Shoulders stay level, and then look forward between the hands and step your right foot all the way up. We're gonna take the back heel down now for a warrior one. So step your back toes a little to the left, pivot your heel to the floor, and then come on up. Find your balance. So square yourself forward. So balance should actually be pretty easy here because the heel's down, but we want to try to level the hips out. So keep reaching your right hip back, left hip forward as you lunge into that front knee. Navel in, tail down, arms go up. Now we're just going to lean forward a little bit to come to a warrior three. You can keep the arms next to the ears, or you're allowed to if you're able to keep them there. But otherwise you can bring palms together in front of the heart, and that's actually what I'm going to do here because it can be a little more stabilizing. Lean forward and then just slowly float the back leg off the ground. Straighten your standing leg, and once that bottom leg gets up, push into the heel, and then I know you can't see, but try to get the heel as high as the hip, and then the heart is also level with the hips and the head. So like heel, hip, heart, head. Think of them as all being in a parallel line. And then we're going to go from here to a standing split. So take your fingertips lightly to the floor and fold down deeper. Let your left leg potentially lift higher. Breathe. And we're going to move our standing split to a pyramid pose. So see if you can keep your right leg straight, but start to lean back a little bit. Let the back leg come down. It's not going to be as far back as it was for your warrior one, but the toes will still probably be turned out a little bit so you can really get your heel down. And then fold over your front leg as best you can. Breathe. Maybe for a second, take your hand to your hips and check to see that your tailbone is kind of level. So if you notice that one hip is dropped or lifted, see if you can kind of level things out back there as you fold. And then when we're done here, we can just take the hands to the floor, plant the palms, and step both feet to plank. You can either go straight to down dog, or you can go to plank and take another vinyasa if that would feel good for you. And breathe. Let's take the left leg into the air, open the hip and bend the top knee. So we're just going to do the same thing on the other side. That knee points up, the heel drops to the right. Keep your shoulders level, so although we're opening the front of the thigh and the hip, we don't want to twist the upper body. Look forward, step your left foot up. Lower your right heel down by slightly turning your back toes out, and then come on up. Find your square hips, so you can take your hands to your hips for a moment if you need to, if that's helpful for you. Back heel roots down, shoulders over hips, and then take those arms up. Gaze forward, lunging more deeply into the front knee with every breath. Press into the outer edge of the back foot. Right hip moves forward, left hip back, and then we're going to come to warrior three. So again, maybe keeping the arms next to the ears or press your palms together in front of the heart, and then just start to lean into it until you can take your back foot off the floor. Once it's off the floor, push through the heel. See if you can level out your hips here as well. So rotate your right thigh to face the floor, push through the heel, and then try to get heel, hip, heart, and head all in line with each other. Breathe. Gaze at one point, traditionally to the floor here. If your standing leg is wobbling, that's normal, but our job is to kind of adjust. Take your fingers now to the floor, folding deeper, standing split. Take your right leg up and breathe here. So we should feel a little stretch in the hamstring here, but don't overdo it, right? So we're allowing our body to open and we're giving it, a situation that can help that, but don't hurt yourself. So don't pull or force yourself deeper than you're ready for. Now, as you're coming out of this, see if you can keep your left leg pretty straight and just let that right foot drop down where it easily can fall. So it won't be back as far as it was for like a warrior one or a high lunge. Fold over the front leg in pyramid, but see if you can check and make sure your hips are pretty level here. Keep the front knee straight but not locked. So the work is happening with the quad. Pull the quad up. Drive your thigh deeper into the hip socket as you fold and breathe. And then plant your palms. Find a way to either step directly back to down dog or step to plank, and give yourself another vinyasa here if you would like one. This is a flowing practice, right? So try to do these kind of feel-good flows on Wednesday. We flow a little slower, but we do try to connect the poses to each other. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. Exhale, step or hop your feet forward between the hands. Inhale, take a half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold down deep. Bend the knees, sink the hips. Let's come through chair pose. So this is not necessarily a pose that I think of as like a feel-good pose. We're working a lot in the quads, weight on the heels, but it does build some strength here in the quads, which ultimately we want to be able to support our knee joint. If we can use our legs as opposed to the joints, it's going to spare our knees. So this is like for the future of feeling good. We want our knees to not have to hurt. If your knees are hurting in the pose, don't take it so deep. The knees shouldn't be hurting, but you should feel those quads really active. Now straighten the legs, come up to standing, palms together. Let's just take a nice wide stance here. And we're going to turn the toes out a little bit. Let's take the arms out. And we're going to rotate to the right, so dropping down towards the right leg with both hands, and then sweep the left hand over to the left, both hands come to the left leg. Take that top arm up and come back through center. And we'll just go the other way. So taking both hands over to the left leg, come underneath, both hands are to the right, and then take the left arm up first, come on up. One more time each direction. So toes are turned out a little bit here. We're not bending the knees, we're just folding down. Come on up on the left, and then switching directions. Folding down, moving through center, come on up. And then let's turn the right toes fully forward. Turn the left toes in a little as well. So we don't want them turning out, but they're not turned in dramatically, right? It's just a little bit. So almost like the outer edge of your foot is parallel with that outer edge of the mat. Let's go into triangle pose. Arms out at shoulder height. Tuck your right hip in and try to keep the right side of your torso really long as you reach your right fingers, reach, get long, and then just let that arm come down to where the back of the hand can rest against the inner shin, or the hand can rest there, and then the top arm goes up, so the shoulders stack. Keep the feet pressing down, sides of the body long, look up and breathe. Now let's float up, stretch way back. Ooh, and then let's go ahead and come into warrior two. So bend your front knee, arms out at shoulder height. Shoulders are stacked over the hips here. If you find you really need to move your right foot further forward so you can lunge as deep as you can, but keep the knee over the ankle, do that. Draw the left hip open, right knee open, shoulders over hips, and then take the arms up for a moment, and then slowly let them just level out at the height of your shoulders. Look over your front fingers. And then turn your front palm up. Keep your gaze at your fingertips as you reverse the warrior here. Keep lunging into your front knee as you reach way up and back. Enjoy the stretch across the right side of the body. One more inhale. And then exhale. Let's go ahead and cartwheel the hands to the floor. And again, you have an option. If you'd like to take a vinyasa, take it. But if you prefer just to go straight to down dog, that works too. Breathe when you get there. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step or hop the feet lightly to the front of the mat. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, fold. Now let's go ahead and bend the knees and sink the hips, coming through chair pose again. We're just going to hold for a breath and then straighten the legs, come to standing. And once again, let's step wide. So you might step to the flip side on your mat. I'm going to keep facing this direction, whatever makes most sense to you. But go ahead and have the feet parallel now. So the outer edges of the feet are parallel to the outer edges of the mat. Take the hands behind the back, interlace the fingers, pull your shoulder blades together, slide them down your back, and then lead with your chest to fold down over the legs. Let your head hang. If you want to let the arms move up and away behind you, go for it. But keep the shoulder blades drawing onto your upper back. Notice if your weight is all on your heels and see if you can lean forward a little bit more. Breathe, lift your quads, open your hamstrings. And then carefully take your hands to your back. Go ahead and start to float on up to standing. And we're going to do our standing poses on the other side. So we'll pivot the left heel so it lines up with the back arch. The back toes, we want to have them turned slightly to the left, but not dramatically. Arms out at shoulder height, coming into triangle, Trikonasana. So front knee stays straight, sides of the body stay as long as you can keep them as you're leaning into it. Move, move, move. And then when you get to about like, I can't bend any farther without starting to curve or collapse. So this is kind of my extension. So I'm going to take the hands now into place from here. And then you can use the back of the hand against the inner shin to help move your top shoulder open, but keep your top arm right above your shoulder. Breathe. Strong feet, float yourself up, stretch it back. Ooh, and then let's go ahead and come into warrior two. So bend into your front knee, and that knee we want it to end up over the ankle. So, the other idea is to get the thigh parallel to the floor, but we want to keep the knee over the ankle, and we want to keep this back hip open and this back leg really engaged. Shoulders over hips. And then once again, just take those arms up and slowly let them come down. Look over your fingers and breathe. If you're not sure what your knee is doing, look at it. Make sure you can see your big toe inside of it. Warrior two really should be opening up our hips a little bit. So if you feel there's some strain in there, that's not surprising. Do the best you can. Turn the front palm up, reverse the warrior. Take one more inhale. And then as you exhale, once again, cartwheel the hands to the floor. And if you'd like to take a vinyasa, you certainly can. If you'd rather not, then it's just down dog. And breathe. Inhale, look forward. Exhale, step or lightly hop the feet to the front of the mat. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, folding down, and then bend the knees, sink the hips coming through chair again, and let's straighten the legs and come to standing. So we're going to just do a little bit more balance here. So let's take tree pose. We're going to stand on the right foot and slowly bend the left knee, and either you can take the sole of the foot to the calf, or if your balance is a little better than that, you can take the sole of the foot all the way above your knee to your thigh. Bring your palms together in front of the heart. Try not to let that foot slide to being inside your knee. So if it tends to want to just go down, just go ahead and put it against your calf. It's totally fine. Breathe. If you're able, you can take those arms up. Gaze ahead of you at something stable, not moving. Now we're going to move from here. So I'm going to actually turn to the short edge of my mat. So if you're not there, you might need to make an adjustment. We're going to just step the foot back. Woo! Wobbling. So we're going to step that left foot back. Step it all the way back. And I need to step my right foot forward as well. We're going to come to warrior one. And then we're just going to flow through our warrior poses. So exhale, warrior two. Front heel and back arch line up now. Inhale, reverse warrior, and let's take a nice extended side angle. Forearm to thigh, top arm overhead alongside the ear. So if you want to take any variations here, feel free. This version is just fine. Keep lifting out of your, away from your shoulder, so you don't want to start to collapse your shoulder to your ear. But if you want to come to like a half bind, you could take the left hand behind you and then use grabbing onto your right thigh to roll your shoulder open more. Or if you feel like a full bind would feel nice, you can drop your shoulder down, reach behind you with both hands. The hands actually need to clasp, right? So we want to grab the hands and then the top shoulder lifts and we look up. If this feels good, if it doesn't, go back to the classic version. And then whenever you're coming out, release the bind. If you've got it, keep your lunge in the front knee. Stretch back, reverse warrior. And then the hands can come to the floor. Take a vinyasa if you'd like to. And breathe. Down dog or child's pose. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. Exhale, bend the knees and step or lightly hop your feet forward. Inhale, half lift. Exhale, fold. Once again, chair pose. Bend the knees, sink the hips. Inhale, and then straighten the legs, come to standing. And we're going to do the same on the other side. So starting with tree pose, and then we know we're going to step back to a warrior one. So I'm just going to slide to this end of my mat so I don't have to travel as far. We're going to stand on the left foot, take the sole of the right to either the calf or all the way above the knee to the thigh. Find your balance, steady your gaze. Your hands press together a little so they're not just kind of like arms slack, but there's some activation, as is there activation between the leg and the foot. So the foot pushes into the leg, and that may seem like a no-brainer, but we also want the leg to be able to push against the foot. And that way we get this sense of lifting. And if we can lift the arms then from there, go ahead and do that. So things are moving to the center and up. And then from here, we're going to step back to warrior one. So for me, I need to turn, but then we're going to just take that foot off of the leg and reach back. And you're going to kind of counterbalance with that upper body as you step the right foot back. Inhale, take your warrior one. Exhale, open to warrior two. Inhale, reverse. And then come to your extended side. So forearm to thigh for the basic pose. Top arm overhead. Try to create a diagonal here. If you want to go to a half bind, you would keep your left forearm on your thigh, but your right hand would come behind you. And if you're in the half bind, there's still a sense of pressing the forearm down on that left arm to open you up. So you're still lifting. If you're coming to the full bind, then you would drop your shoulder and reach behind you. But you do want to make sure that you can actually get your hands together. So if your hands kind of can't reach, go back to a half bind. If your hands can reach under your thigh, then you can kind of pull on those arms. Use the hands to tuck the hip, lift your top shoulder up and breathe. And then release that, stretch back, reverse warrior, and then hands to the floor. Move through your vinyasa or just straight to down dog. And breathe. On an inhale, let's take the right leg into the air, open the hip, bend to the top knee, point the knee to the sky, and then we're going to pull the knee forward behind the right wrist. Let the shin cross the mat. Use the left toes to walk the left leg back and onto the top of the thigh. Now, if this is troublesome for your right knee, you can come to your back and do the variation on pigeon there. But if this works for you, we're going to see if we can come up a little bit first. See if we can. Take the arms up and then slowly, maybe slow lower down. Do the best you can here. If you need to use your hands so you don't fall, go ahead and use those hands. but maybe elbows just kind of tucked in like this little goalpost shape. Slowly fold down over your front shin and then take the hands to the floor. You can prop yourself up with the forearms or you can just take your head down. Breathe. Two more breaths, giving up the weight here. And then come on up nice and slowly. Support yourself with the right fingers and then just bend the left knee behind you and see if you're able to reach your foot. If so, gently draw your heel towards your hip. If you're going a little deeper, like if your heel comes really close to your hip, then start to think about moving your upper body up and taking less weight on that one front hand. Release your leg behind you. Let's drop to the right hip. And let's take the right shin and bring it a little further forward and then see if we can pull the left leg up so that the shin is along the long edge of the mat. Try to drop your left hip down a little bit and then take your left hand to your right knee and twist away over your right shoulder. And then coming out of our twist, bring your hands back to the floor. Find your way back to downward facing dog. Shake out your right leg, kick through the heel here. Second side, left leg up, open the hip, bend the top knee, point the knee to the sky. Breathe. And then let's take the left knee forward behind the left wrist. So same thing as before. If this is hard on your knee, come to your back, bring your left ankle and cross it in front of your right thigh and then pull your right thigh towards you. If you're able to, just see if you can give this a little bit of a try. Anchor into your back leg and see if you can pick up your hands here. See what you can do. And then maybe just with those elbows like bent here, see if you can slowly, try not to rock to your left hip, but slowly let your chest move down to the floor. And then once you're there, take your hands to support you, or you can take them, walk them out, and let your head come to the ground. And let's give up the weight of the upper body here. Two more full deep breaths. And then coming up carefully, we'll stretch the other thigh. So support yourself with your left fingers, bend your right knee, reach back with your hand for your foot, and draw that heel in. And if you're able to, start to take less weight on the front fingers as you draw your heel closer to your body. Maybe you don't need that left arm at all. And then release. Now, we're going to drop to the left hip. Move the left shin a little bit forward. Take that right leg so that the knee is coming right out from the hip. And then, I know you kind of can't see, but then drop your right hip down a little bit. Take your right hand to your left knee and turning over your left shoulder. Breathe. Little twist here. And then come on out of that. Take take the hands back to the floor, and let's go ahead and step back to downward facing dog in any way that makes sense to you. And if you want to shake out the left leg or kick through the heel or, pedal the legs here, go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and drop the knees to the floor. We're going to do a little thread the needle twist here. So we're going to take it in basically from child's pose. So go ahead and let your hips come back to your heels like child's pose. Maybe the knees are a little wide here, so you've got some space for the belly to rest and expand between your legs. And then we're going to come up a little bit and slide the back of the left hand underneath the right arm all the way through, and then see if you can get your left shoulder and ear to the ground. Do the best you can here, but we do want to be able to really rest that left head and shoulder, the left ear and shoulder. Now the right hand can either just press down, or you could take it up into the air and open the chest. Or you can even bind it behind you if you'd like. But make sure you're continuing to lift your right shoulder. So we don't want the right shoulder to drop down just because we've done a bind. If you're having that trouble, just place your right hand again on the floor to push your shoulder up. And then press your right hand down to come up out, and we'll do the other side. So the left hand's going to come down. We're just going to thread the needle, slide that right arm under until you come all the way to your right shoulder and ear. Hips are back, and then that left palm can either press, and if you're pressing, that's moving the shoulder up, or you can take the arm up so that it leans back, or if you're binding, great, but don't let the shoulder drop. If you bind, see if you can bind and then keep lifting the shoulder. If that's hard, just keep your left palm pressing, turning your torso here. And then press the left hand down. Come on out. And let's go ahead and crawl onto our stomach. So take your hands out. Let your knees walk back further and lower your belly all the way to the floor. We're going to do a little back bending. So I'm going to talk through bow pose, but if you feel like bow is more intense than you want tonight, take Sphinx. Come back to Sphinx, elbows to the floor. Or you could take a seal. You could straighten up the arms and prop yourself up this way. Or you could take a cobra. Cobra is a little more active, but up to you. So if you want to do something that's a variation, please feel free. If you're ready for bow, bend the knees behind you. Reach back with the hands for the feet. And then just gently pull the heels away from the hips. So make this first one pretty gentle. You can keep the thighs on the floor. Tuck your tail, or you could think of pressing your pelvis down a little bit. Heart is up and forward. The shoulder blades are moving together. Relax the neck, so don't crane it back or drop your head down, but nice and easy. And then slowly lower yourself back to the floor, forehead to hands, or turn one ear to the ground. Okay, and we're going to do another one, and this time if you want to take it a little bit more vigorous, you can let your thighs come up off the floor, but you don't have to. So reach for the feet, lift your shoulders, pull the ears down, or pull the shoulders down away from the ears. Sorry, that wasn't what I meant at all. Maybe lift the thighs and the feet go towards the ceiling. Make sure you can still breathe here. Make sure you can still smile. Try not to let the knees go too wide. One more breath. And then slowly lower to the floor. Once again, forehead or an ear down. Okay, so we're going to take kind of a deep stretch that's going to be across the front of the shoulder. So I'll talk through it. Do the best you can. Sometimes it's one that in person, I sometimes like to come around and make sure that people kind of get it, because it's a little hard to explain. Or it's not hard to explain, but if you've not done it before, it might feel a little unfamiliar. So basically, we're going to take our chest down, but we're going to take, let's start with the left side. We're going to take the left arm at like a 90-degree angle with the elbow straight out from the shoulder. So we're creating kind of like that goalpost or cactus arm. So the elbow, it's maybe hard to see in the picture, but it's not down towards the hip, it's not up straight, but the elbow should be directly out from your shoulder. Then we're gonna take the left ear to the ground and press your right hand to start to roll you backwards over to the left. And the right leg can come up and step back behind you, but you're keeping your left shoulder down and your left ear down as you twist back. You should feel this in the front of your left shoulder. Breathe. That right hand is pressing into the floor under the left elbow. Your right foot may or may not actually touch the ground. It's not a huge deal if it doesn't. And then to come out really slowly. Sometimes you get a little heat happening in that left shoulder because we're drawing blood flow there. Okay, so let's go the other way. So the right elbow is going to come out, and the same thing, the elbow is straight out from the shoulder, and it's a little hard to see. Put it down, and if the elbow is bent at 90 degrees, put your right ear on the floor, plant your left palm, and then you're going to roll, and you're going to roll yourself backward, but try to keep your right shoulder resting as you pick up your left leg and step it behind. And you're twisting backward over the shoulder, and in so doing, we're adding some leverage or some weight to get a stretch for the front of that right shoulder. Breathe into whatever's going on there. If it becomes too intense, ease up on it. So we don't want to cause ourselves pain, but sometimes like a challenging intensity or an uncomfortable feeling is normal if we're going deep into a stretch that needs a little attention. Breathe here. Close your eyes if you need to. And then carefully, slowly unwind it here. Ooh, okay. Let's take one more cobra. So hands next to the chest, come on up. And then tuck toes, downward facing dog. Breathe here. Inhale, look to the front of the mat. As you exhale, step or hop the feet forward, and let's come to a seat. Okay. So we'll do a little bit of forward folding here. Let's go ahead and take the right leg out, and we're going to take the sole of the left foot in for Janu Shirshasana. So this is head to knee pose, Janu or knee to head pose, I guess. We're going to angle our body towards the right leg, toes flexed and folding down. Let's go really slow. Actually, let's go ahead and come up with the arms. And we'll just do a little bit of almost like a flow into this pose. So exhale, we're gonna reach for you may not get the toes, but we're just gonna fold over, and then we're gonna try to roll back up. So inhale, roll up, reach the arms. Exhale, folding over the leg. And it may not be very far, you're maybe just coming to here and working with the arms, and that's okay. Inhale, come up. Exhale, draping over the leg. Folding down, keep your right foot flexed. Inhale, come up. And one more time, and this time we'll go ahead and hold. So we've kind of built this slow. Maybe we've warmed that up a bit, maybe. Hands can come to your foot, or they can come to the mat either side, one on either side of the leg. And I think for me that helps to steer my torso towards my leg a little bit better. Breathe. And if you're able to let the neck release your head, go ahead and do that. But if it feels uncomfortable, you can put the head anywhere that it feels safe for the neck. And then slowly walk your hands in to come on up. And we're going to do the other leg. take your left leg out, sole of the right foot in. Make sure you're able to actually sit here. If you're having a hard time being upright in this position, you could sit on like a block or a book or something like that if you've got something available to help lift you a little. A folded up blanket would be great as well. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. And so we're gonna kind of go into this sort of slow flow here. Exhale, fold over the leg. Inhale, bring the arms back up. And exhale, fold. Keep the foot flexed as you do this. Inhale, roll on up. Exhale, folding down. And one more time. Inhale, sweep up. And exhale, allow yourself to come down now here and stay. And even though we're like staying, which is kind of a hold, there may still be a little bit of that inner sense as we breathe of lifting a little bit up out of the pose as you inhale and sinking down a little deeper into it as you exhale. And this can be really subtle, so it may not even be like visible, but just something that you can kind of feel like you're still riding your breath as you hold and deepen this pose with each moment you're here. And then when you're ready to come out, come up nice and slow. Excuse me. Let's go ahead and come to our back. So we're going to come back to the floor where we started actually. And we're going to take the legs back up into the air again. But this time, instead of like that really strong L that we were doing, trying to press the low back down, we're going to let the knees be a little softer and just let the legs kind of float. And if you want to kind of kick through the feet or shake them out, go ahead and do that. Just let them be pretty slack. And you know, the knees can be bent, that's fine. And if you have a hard time getting them up that, up over the hips, do the best you can. Again, bend the knees. But if you're able, you can reach through them a little bit more. And basically all that's happening here is the blood flow is changing direction. You're just allowing the feet and the ankles to kind of rest here. If you want to turn the ankles or flex and point or anything that would feel good for the feet, give yourself a chance to do that here. And then we're going to move to a happy baby. So take the knees a little wide and start to bend them down along the sides of your chest. If you can reach the tops of the thighs, great. Some of you will be able to reach up and grab the outer feet. And then you can use the weight of the hands to press the knees down by the chest. They're probably not going to actually come to the floor, but they should be outside of the chest so that that's sort of the direction that they're going in. And then maybe a little push back up into the hands with the feet, or if you've got the thighs, that would be like the hamstrings, that would be what they would do. And that tailbone can lengthen, and then maybe a little rock from side to side here on the low back. So this happy baby pose. So if you can just sort of imagine, I think the image of the poses sometimes gives us an indication of the spirit of them as well as the shape. And then we're going to finish today in Supta Baddha Konasana. So we're going to bring the feet together. Supta meaning reclined, and Baddha Konasana is bound angle pose, which we sometimes do as a seated forward fold. But here we're going to take the feet together and let the knees go wide. And just let the knees passively drop to the floor, and we're actually opening like our hip flexor muscles here. Lift your chest, tuck your shoulder blades underneath the upper back. Let the arms open with palms face up. And if you want to, you can close your eyes here. Maybe take a few more Ujjayi breaths, but eventually you're going to want to just transition out of the Ujjayi practice to your natural breathing rhythm. And as you think about getting ready to complete your practice, I'm going to come up to sitting just to say goodbye to everyone here. But feel free to just stay on your back, and you can stay in this pose as long as it feels good. But when you get to the point where you're ready to come fully to Shavasana, you can keep your upper body still, and then just one at a time, let the legs extend out in front of you. Give up the weight of the body to the floor, and then maybe just stay in stillness for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever your body needs to just release and completely let go. I'm going to come back up to sitting, just to say thank you to everyone for practicing with me today. As always, I appreciate you being here. I hope that these practices have been useful to you. Please feel free to share with anyone else that you think might appreciate it. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you wherever you are. Stay home, stay safe, keep practicing, all of that. Namaste.